There we go. We're having some technical problems there. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I'm a minute or two late on our last evening on our tailored Trips to Transform week. We're celebrating all things travel. We're going to celebrate the last night, have a little sip of, it's not champagne, but it is rosé. Mm, it tastes good. I've saved the best for last. Tonight, we're going to talk about experiences you can't plan even if you wanted to. And I'm going to explain how it is that I can provide exclusive access to things that you just can't set up for yourself. So it's not just that you can't VIP yourself and can't get the upgrades and the amenities that I can add in, but literally the things that I can add to your itinerary are items and experiences that you do not have access to. And I heard an interesting phrase today called DNA. It stands for do nothing at all on your vacation. And those vacations are perfectly fine. I love those types of vacations too. But if there are things that you want to do and some experiences that you want to have, even those you haven't even quite formulated because you didn't know they were possible, that's my job. My job is to deliver on dreams that you haven't even thought of or haven't even dreamt yet. Because I'm not just a specialist in travel, I'm a specialist in you. And I know what's possible. And if I don't, I can certainly find out. I've got partners on the ground. I talked about that a little bit about in the session about perks and privileges, how my partners on the ground really provide an extra layer of security in case anything goes wrong. They're in the same time zone. They have connections on the ground. And they have network of people that they can call on if anything goes wrong. And the same thing is true in terms of planning these experiences. They are usually native residents, native born, and they have a wide network of professionals in the travel industry that they know, and tour guides, and so yeah, that they're like my secret ingredient. I will say that what's visible to the public is like only the tip of the iceberg, and that much of the treasures of what's possible in the travel industry are like hidden beneath the surface. They're down below. You don't even know that they're there. You don't even know to ask for them. So, and they're my secret ingredient in terms of crafting an itinerary that will really delight my clients and really provide that kind of wow factor. We are going to be launching next month, actually, something called your travel vision board. I don't like the term bucket list because it assumes, that it's like a doomsday trip, like you need to run around and do everything before you die and kick the bucket. I prefer thinking of it as a vision board, and my consortia that I am a member of through my network, Gifted Travel Network, is worked very hard on coming up with a digital app where my clients can collect and save all the different experiences they want to have around the world. And then we can work together to figure out how to make that happen. Do it over a period of time, spreading out the budget, however you want to do it. But then at least it's all saved in one place. So we're going to be launching that vision board next month in June after I get back from my trip to Africa. I'm going to Morocco later this like in 2 weeks. I've got a lot to do before that. But so when I get back, we're going to launch that, and you'll hear more about that in our Sips and Spotlights. I also have a very special guest coming up on this Wednesday on May 12th. We're going to be talking, and I have somebody coming from Canyon Ranch, which you may know is a very preeminent resort. They actually have 3 locations now, 3.5, because they sort of have something in Vegas. And they actually also work with the Cunard line as well. But they're it when it comes to wellness in the travel industry. They've been doing this for decades. I myself went there in 1995. And so I'm bringing in a special guest who's going to be available to answer all your questions. And we're going to talk about what is possible there in order to get a sense of refreshment for yourself and rebooting. They have these interesting, they develop these pathways. So depending on what it is that you're looking for, you can adopt one of those pathways, and they have 3 or 5 or 7 night stays for you to, go and really feel restored. They have a resort in Woodside, California, one in Tucson, Arizona, and the one that I went to is in Lenox, Massachusetts, up in Northwest Massachusetts. So that's coming up on Wednesday. The other thing I want to mention before we get into tonight's topic, suspense, I know, is that we're going to be going virtually to a stunning country that is on many people's vision board, and that is South Africa. We're going to have a wonderful partner who's going to tour us around South Africa and give us a real sense of both the natural wonders of South Africa as well as um, all the cultural stuff that's happening there. It's got a really cool culinary scene. They have an amazing collection of art galleries and an artistic community. Amazing music as well. I've been diving in and learning about some of the music of South Africa. And so, and speaking of the natural wonders, I forgot to mention this, the movie that won the foreign film for the Academy Awards about the octopus was actually filmed off the coast of South Africa. So we're going to talk about all that. We're actually going to hop over and also quickly and briefly talk about Victoria Falls, which I learned also today is in its native language is called The Thunder of the Storm. I just love that as a title. And so that's all happening on May 16th, and it makes a great Mother's Day present or just any kind of present. We'd love for you to grab a friend, a girlfriend, and come and join us on Sunday the 16th. It's at 4 p.m. And we'll have a cooking lesson first. We're going to learn how to make chakalaka. And if you don't know what that is, because I didn't, it's not hard, it's delicious, and we'll have a lot of fun cooking together with Chef Monica. We'll do that first, and then we'll get the tour. So again, that's on May 16th. So we got a lot going on, and yeah, a lot to celebrate, and including the ending of this week. I've had a lot of fun doing these, and I hope you've had fun watching them. And so we're going to get into it. So you know about my secret ingredient, my friends who help me, my partners who help me on the ground. Here's one other thing I want to say about them, actually. Because they are on the ground and they are the connective tissue for advisors in the United States to American tourists, they often have a lot of leverage with the destinations and with the people that are creating these experiences that a one-time traveler just doesn't have. That's another aspect of why we can get access to exclusive experiences that you can't get otherwise, is because these are people who have long-term relationships with them and bring business to them again and again. And if you're just traveling, once every, 5 or 8 or 10 years to Italy, you're not gonna get the same attention that you would if you're not connected with me and not connected with my partner who's on the ground. So that's just one way to understand why it is that I can provide access to these kinds of experiences. And they give me really good insider knowledge and ideas. And they also help me negotiate not just exclusive experiences, but also sometimes exclusive rates through their connections and contacts. Okay, so I have a bunch on the blog. I'm not going to read all of them to you now. You can go to the blog and read them, but I am going to give you a sampling, and I want to do them justice, so I'm going to read a little bit more than I usually do during my Facebook Lives, just because I don't want to miss any of the details. I'm just going to give you, and also, this is just a potpourri of the experiences that are popular. I actually had a spreadsheet that I was looking through today that had 2,758 suggested experiences from my partners. And those are just samplings from each of my partners. It's not the whole of what they can do. And just for shits and giggles, I searched on the spreadsheet castles just to see how many castles were listed in the spreadsheet. It came up 344 times. So if you're a castle buff, I got you covered. That's all. And we can search for other things too. Yeah, I just have some just amazing resources. Okay, so let's get started with some of these actual experiences that you can go and do. Number one, you can go and have a private fashion show and shop with the designer in Paris and then make a custom designer handbag. You can tour privately the Patek Philippe factory in Geneva and then have a private shopping experience there. My dad actually had one of those watches. You can go to the Galway races in Ireland, which if you don't know is a magnificent horse race. It's a festival that lasts a week long. You'll have like a VIP luncheon and VIP seating and be able to experience everything about the race. And then they also include in that a helicopter ride on the west coast of Ireland, which is, if you have not been there, it's stunning. It's so stunning that it actually was an island off the coast was used in one of the Star Wars movies. And speaking of Ireland, you can also sleep in a castle in Northern Ireland. And the 7th Earl of Erne His castle is called Chrome Castle. And what's really cool about it is that it was built in about 1840, and the same architect, also, his name was Edward Bloor. He also was responsible for parts of Buckingham Palace. And it's also on about 1,900 acres of National Trust property. So that one's pretty cool. You can lunch and have a private tour in the home of a famous Peruvian artist. His name is Victor Delfin, and his home is on the cliffs overlooking the Pacific, and his home apparently looks like a Salvador Dali painting. I have colleagues who actually did just this. We also have access to historical sites that are often off limits to the public. So, for example, and this is so cool, I heard about this one 2 weeks ago. One is the house of Emperor Augustus and his wife, the Empress Livia. So I don't know if you ever saw I, Claudius when it was on PBS in the mid-'80s. Livia was made out to be quite an evil human being. And interestingly, the palace, the way it's set up, his part of the palace is much more humble than hers. He put more money to make it more lavish for her. And one of his appeal, and one of the reasons why he became the first emperor of Rome, was because he was so humble and he wanted to be like of the people. Well, that's not been open to the public, or open only on and off, since 2008. But I can get you access and I can get you in, and I saw a video of it and it's freaking amazing. Another one that I have access to, and this people don't usually think about this one, and that's to sail on a private yacht along the Amalfi Coast. People think that this is prohibitively expensive. And in fact, during the high season, it's less per night than it is to try to stay in a hotel along the Amalfi Coast. So you can visit not just the big towns like Positano or Ravenna, but you could go to some of the smaller ones on this yacht, like Minori or Satara, and have really the entire experience that one would want to have along the Amalfi Coast, with the ricotta pastries, and you would be with a chef as well as a captain. And if you're okay being on water, this is a great way to experience that. Same company also does tours along Croatia, which is also a very beautiful coastline. Another one is to design your own perfume in an atelier in Milan. You can come back home with your own bespoke perfume that you've created along with a professional. I know somebody who actually has done that. Another experience, and I got this from one of my other colleagues in the Gifted Travel Network, is that she created for one of her clients, was having a catered dinner in an Italian silver factory. And this factory actually does the trophies for the Super Bowl. It does Tiffany jewelry, and it makes chess sets for the Pope. And then obviously the dinner is decked out with like insane silver, like silver candelabras and plates and goblets and, water goblets, just silver everywhere. Apparently it was a very amazing and special experience. Speaking of the Pope, we can also get you a private audience with the Pope, and you can visit the Room of Tears, which is sometimes called the Crying Room. It's right off the Sistine Chapel, and allegedly that's where the newly elected popes would go to cry, either out of fear or joy. So that's something that's really pretty cool. Apparently that got its name from 1878 when Pope Leo the 13th was elected, and he cried because he thought he was too old when he was, I think, 65, but he lived to be 93. Okay, another one. I didn't even know you could do this. Again, this is the kind of stuff you don't even know you could do. There is apparently a national team in England of sheepdog handlers. So you can go and learn from him and work with him and have your own go at herding a flock of sheep in the English Cotswolds. If that's your thing, we can make that happen with one of a member of one of the world's best sheepdog handlers in the world. Also in England, in London, you can stay in a suite that has its own postal code. That's at the Rosewood in London. A lot of people don't know that. In Jordan, you can have a luxury tent experience that follows in the footsteps of Lawrence of Arabia. Obviously, camel rides are included in that, and the beautiful gorges and sunsets as well in the desert there. I'd like the Lawrence of Arabia kind of touch because I like history. This one's also pretty cool. I'm not a car person, but I think I would do this because it's in Italy, and the glamorous and sophistication of Italian cars is just really sexy. This is a private tour of the Ferrari and Maserati factory. They're really the most glamorous names in automobile design. We all know them. And obviously the tour guide is somebody who's really into cars, so you'll learn a lot. You'll get to see vintage models as well as contemporary models. And apparently there, they have very rare models they're called the 6CM types. They were only built between 1936 and 1939. Like, I'm not into cars, but I think I would do that. Another one is learning how to waltz in Vienna from the Vienna Dance School. So basically, you learn the basic 6 steps, and then you you basically do 12 dances in one night, and all the Johann Strauss waltzes. Maybe not all his, but he's the one most known for it. And you get to do that in Vienna, in Austria. So, and that's part of UNESCO's cultural heritage. So that would be the place to do it. All right, next, sleep under the Northern Lights. This is a very special Arctic experience where you literally, I think I have like a roof. It's like a big window and then a roof window where you get to sleep underneath the Northern Lights up within the Arctic Circle. Yeah, I know, that one's good. All right, in Argentina, you can go to one of the most beautiful regions of the world along the lake. I may butcher this, Nahul Haupi. The lake on the lake of the Bariloche, perfect for lovers of the outdoors. So you can hike and kayak and ride horses, and there's an isolated island there, and they have a local musician who can play Argentinian music to you while you enjoy Andean wine and Patagonia beer. Didn't know there was the difference between the two. Here's another one I think is pretty cool. There's this very talented and renowned calligrapher in Paris. His name is Nicolas Uchiner. I'm not doing that justice either. And he's a calligrapher. And you basically can go, he does all the calligraphy for all the invitations for the big houses. So Cartier, Bulgari, Dior, Chanel, etc. And obviously he does different designs, different calligraphy designs for each of those to distinguish them. But you can go and learn about what he does, and he'll give you a little lesson. You can try your upstrokes and your downstrokes, your descending and ascending strokes. And then you come away with your own like monogram as a souvenir that he'll create for you, which is also pretty cool. Another experience is to dine privately at the Acropolis under the stars, and then get a private after-hour tours of the brand new, not so new, it's about a decade old, the Acropolis Museum. That's also a pretty amazing experience, and they'll have a harp and a violin player if you want, also set up for your private romantic dinner on the Acropolis. Here's another one that's kind of not possible through Google. Basically, the great nephew of the Queen Mother is a guy named Simon Rhodes. And over many days in England and in Scotland, he'll be your personal escort and take you behind the scenes to places such as Windsor Castle, Sandringham, and Balmoral. And you'll and other places that are dear to the royal family. And then that finishes up with a gala banquet aboard the former royal yacht, which I think is up in Scotland. Another one that's really fun, especially if you're an Agatha Christie fan, and this is from one of my favorite partners, Belmond, is that you have a delicious lunch on the train, and then you step back into time into the 1920s, and over the afternoon, a bunch of suspects come on board, and you're given a clue sheet, and you have to use your sleuthing skills, and you have to figure out who committed the murder. So it's basically like a murder mystery party, but on an actual, like, beautiful Belmont train. So there's a lot of glamour, a lot of fun, and a lot of adventure on this, and there's even prizes for the best detectives. And that's also in Great Britain. In Mallorca, you can visit an ancient vineyard and then get a tour from the couple that live there. And at the end of that day, you'll enjoy a bossa nova concert in the ancient chapel on their grounds. And the wife sings apparently very well. Glass bottom kayaking, where you can even do that at night if you wish, if you're courageous, in the Virgin Islands, in the British Virgin Islands. In Mexico, you can meet with a shaman at a luxury resort and experience their ancient healing techniques. So they call in the cosmic influence and then give you blessings and healings. And yeah, that sounds pretty amazing. This is at the Chablis Resort. I got invited to go there last year, but I wasn't ready to travel before COVID ended, or at least until I got my pandemic. Let's see. There's there's this Icelandic springs, mineral rich springs, geothermal springs, where there's this like a 5-star spa resort there, where you can then have private access without the crowds to Iceland's most visited attraction, their geothermal springs. And this one is in Nepal. This is the last one that I'm going to talk about tonight. This is a meditation maze in Nepal that is, you meditate like in the maze, going through the maze, but you also lie down. And they recommend you do this in the morning and with the morning dew. And then the healing energies of the earth apparently come up and they get transmitted to your body, leaving you refreshed. That's from my partners at Remote Lands. So whatever kind of experience you are looking for, I'm there to find it for you. Like I said, I'm kind of like a matchmaker. And maybe you're into culinary stuff. Maybe you're into historical novels. Maybe you just want to go and have a DNA trip so you can feel rested and restored. We do that too. We're going to be talking to Canyon Ranch about that next week. My goal is to either, if you want to have a completely restorative trip, that's called the primary wellness, and we'll take care of that and take care of you. And if the mountains restore you, we could get you someplace where the mountains are beautiful. There's a great new thing about Switzerland that I saw today too, about the Alps in Switzerland. And there's a wonderful hotel called the Wald Hotel that does wellness, I think, very well, if you pardon the pun. There's another one in Spain called the Shaw Wellness, and some beautiful places also in Portugal that I'm interested in and exploring for my clients. But if you also just want to go and have some amazing experiences and just maintain your wellness while you're gone, we do that too. So that's primary wellness is where that's the primary purpose of the trip, or it's not the primary purpose. The primary purpose is to go and experience these amazing adventures around the world, but I just make sure you stay healthy while you do it. Some of them are. I saw something, there's one supplier who, if you're interested in geothermal springs, you can go away for a month and visit them all over the globe. And it's all like organized into one tour, which is amazing. There's a great bike company where you just basically bike 3 hours a day, and the rest of the time you sit around and drink wine at bed and breakfast and have delicious meals. That sounds like my type of biking trip. But they do them abroad, and they also have been doing them here in the United States. You could go to the Hudson Valley, north of New York City. You could go to Vermont. You could go to the Shenandoah. I'm looking into doing that myself, maybe later this year, after the cicadas come and go. They're coming up from the ground. So my point is, no matter what you're into, I can find something for you to experience. So does anybody have any questions at all? If you're watching, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. You also can always reach out to me and give me a DM. I'm just going to share my screen. If you haven't been here before, I want to share with you that I have now on the website a wonderful little tool, a travel quiz. This is way down at the bottom. It's on every page where you can go and take this quiz. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for watching, Amy. So if you want to know where you should go to first, you need to go and take the quiz, and it'll give you 5 options for you to choose from. 3 that you're probably already thinking of, and maybe 2 that maybe you haven't considered. And there's only 10 questions, so it's not a long quiz. And you can do it right there on the website and answer it, and have a lot of fun with it. And then at the end, it has some extra bonus surprises too. So just wanted to share that with you before we go and let you know that we have that amazing, amazing resource now up on the website. Also, you should go check out our Instagram account. We posted our very first reel, Premier Wellness Travel, premiered, again, pardon the pun, our first reel. We're very excited. Our marketing intern, Alice, did that for us, and she's going to be doing more over the course of the summer. And our first one was put up tonight, and we're very excited about it. So go to our Instagram account, Premier Wellness Travel, and go and check out the first reel. It was very exciting to see the tab come up. And you can also see the past episodes of this, because they're all in there as IGTVs as well. So you can go back and catch the old ones. They're a little different because I recorded them separately, but basically, cover the same stuff. So thank you for coming. Oh, I should also give a shout out, last thing, to this beautiful floral designer. She's based in DC. Her name is Ursula. She's with DC Flowers. You should definitely go follow her Instagram account. She's very busy because of Mother's Day coming up. But she does my flowers, and she did this for me, and she added in a little bit of mint in honor of my future trip to Morocco. So more about that later. Join me on Wednesday on 8 o'clock on the Premier Wellness Facebook page, and bring your questions about Canyon Ranch, and we'll get them all answered for you. Okay, have a great evening, everyone. Bye-bye.